Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast. Squad Games Podcast.
Welcome to the Squad Games Podcast, where Hivestorm just dropped, and we're not going to talk about it whatsoever this
Not
week.
at all.
In fact, we're going to talk about something way crazier. Kielbasa sausage, is that what it's called? But that's besides the point. Yeah, kielbasa. We're going to be talking about all stuff WTC with two of the contestants. We have Sam from Australia, and we have Jimmy Kelly, who's a regular on the podcast from the US team. And it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. And there's a lot of drama hidden behind it, you know, and maybe two enemies even became friends. I don't know if that was a cold opening, Giacomo, but
it's cold enough because, you know, cool. I have the AC running and it's cold over here in California.
So Sam, we woke you up. Yeah, Sam, we woke you up from a dead sleep. Not really. You didn't sleep at all. What time is it in Australia right now?
So it's currently 5:24. In any kind of normal world, I'd be sound asleep at this time, but my body clock thinks 9:24 in Melbourne, in Belgium right now. I got home on Friday night. It's now the early hours of Sunday for me, so I'm absolutely wide awake.
That is fair. That is fair.
What's a time zone?
Yeah,
exactly. And funnily enough, I'd been watching I stayed up a bit later because I was watching the Shall Never Be Mentioned Again stream that GW issued a couple of hours ago. And then I just couldn't go to sleep. And then my phone started ringing at 4:45, and here we are.
Too much adrenaline from Hivestream, you know?
Yeah,
Too
that's
much.
right.
Too much.
Too much.
Yeah, it was just fun. We just did a video on it, and our audio is not good. So we might just redo the entire episode. But we did do something else this week, which was really cool. We did a battle report.
Yes.
We were trying to up the game for Kill Team, and really wanted to put something out there that we wanted to try our best on. So if anyone's listening to this and hasn't seen our battle report and is interested in it, go ahead and check it out. I fight Alexander Popov. Shout out to Alex. You know,
shout out to Alex. Link is in the description.
Yeah, little known fact. Dakotah's only doing that just because he wants to beat up on as many people with Vedguard as possible.
That's not true.
It's kind of fetish.
Whatever changes soon.
Yeah, he just wants to show, like, here's me beating Vedguard with this person. Here's me beating Vedguard with that. Like, it's you're mean, Dakotah. Stop doing that.
Well, I'm going to be beating up on Jimmy Kelly on this Tuesday with Vedguard against his Phobos on Into the Dark, since he challenged me. And then after that, it's going to be Giacomo playing Kasserkin versus Rob, the Hobby Highlander. We don't know what Rob's bringing yet, but it should be exciting.
Yeah, it was great. Dakotah was like, hey, what team are you good with? And I was like, oh, I can play a few teams. I've never played Phobos. She's like, bring them. I was like, all right.
I did not say that. He said, I'm going to teach how America should play it because I watched Phobos one time in Spain, and now I know how to run them.
That doesn't even sound like me. No one's going to believe you. I was like, I want to bring a good team and challenge you. He was like, I want you to be weak and inexperienced. Like, so the problem is Dakotah he's very insecure, and he just needs to win. So I'll be there to make him feel good about himself if he wants, but so whatever you want, Dakotah.
Yeah.
This is your world.
Throw smokes at his guardsman and he can't see you.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's why I bring hand axes. Beat up Space
Stupid
Marines.
hand axes.
Equipments, man. Those little extra damage kills you.
Yeah. That's exciting. So we're going to talk some WTC, your guys' trip out there, you know, your experiences. I believe you both played the same player back to back, and we'll get into that one. I'm sure that's why everyone is tuning in, because the title will probably be something along the lines of like cheating at WTC. Whoa. So if you're here for that, you're going to have to wait a couple minutes.
Yeah. Make it super clickbaity, the title. Like,
oh yeah.
And maybe as offensive as possible to as big a region of the world as possible. That's what I like to do. So just pick a hemisphere and just be like, okay, I was going to start swearing again. I ruined the last YouTube because like immediately it's like, they're like, Jimmy, don't swear. I was like, you effing got it. Like, no, just not that. Like, all right, I don't know. So not going to do it this time. So I'll be good. But
Appreciate that. Appreciate that.
All right, so we're gonna wait on the good stuff. So if you're watching, you gotta wait till later. So
yeah. So Sam, how was your flight, and what did you guys do? And you guys just flew back, right?
Yeah, that's right. So I was in Belgium for 9 days. So flew over I think I got there on the Wednesday, and then I flew home on the Thursday morning. So I spent a couple of days at the end of it just to, be a tourist for a couple of days. So I think you'll appreciate this from all the pods that I've listened to. But I think I spent 3 days in Antwerp
sitting
sitting in the center of the square, drinking beer and reading Brandon Sanderson, and it was amazing.
Hey,
nice. Which Brandon Sanderson book?
Well, Oathbringer and then Rhythm of War. So I'm about halfway through Rhythm of War.
Hell yeah.
So,
did you read all of Oathbringer?
No, I was about half. I mean, I'd read Oathbringer before, so it was a reread.
Okay,
so it's a bit faster wise, but yeah, it was great. Like I was a bit sick after the event. Like I'm sure everybody was. There was definitely something like chasing the nerds down everywhere, making us all sick. And then
Papa Nerdle came.
Yeah, pretty much. He blessed us all. So I just wanted to relax a bit after that. And I don't know, Jimmy, did you spend any time in Antwerp or any of the surrounding cities? It's just like fairy tale land. It's like
I traveled around
beautiful.
a bit, but I didn't do Antwerp. I wanted to go there for a day because I reached out to you guys, Team Australia, and I was like, we should like hang out and hang up. And they're like, we're not going to go anywhere. We're going to stay right here and drink beer. So if you want to hang out with us, you have to come to us and bring your own beer. Because all this beer here is ours. I was like, that'd be fun. Yeah. We communicated through your team captain, and I was like, you should come here and party. And they're like, here's the thing, party's here. I was like, oh, come on, guys. Anyways, so I didn't do Antwerp, but I did a few other cities. We did Bruges, Brussels, and then like few little like small rural like farm town places.
Nice.
Really, really cool country. Love it.
So Sam, was there like alligators there? Is that why you guys were like?
It wasn't the American South, Dakotah.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. That's why I got stuck on the way out.
Yeah, it was all a bit like if you've seen the movie in Bruges, that's like obviously Jimmy went there, but the rest of the Flanders area is a bit like that. So that kind of architecture and that historical period from when it was a big trading area in the 16th century. Yeah. It's just beautiful. And like for Australian beer is extremely expensive. We have lots of taxes. So you go to a pub or something and you might be paying $10-12 for a beer, which is a little bit less USD, but not that much. In Belgium, I was paying like $2 or $3 max for a beer that was like larger, tasted better, and had a higher alcohol content. I was like, this is a win.
The beer
it was just phenomenal. So I could just drink this beer guy. All day.
Yeah, dude, I'm not much of a beer guy. Like I just get right to liquor. Like why am I wasting my time? This is stupid. Just bring me the bottle of whiskey and just leave me alone. Don't call the police. Just give me the bottle. And I normally don't mess around with beer. And the beer was so good, dude. Sam, did you do that whiskey infused stuff they had at the tournament?
Yeah.
No, I didn't actually. No, I was trying to keep my wits about me at the tournament because I don't know. I didn't have much room for error against player quality there. But.
Yeah, okay, so I don't want to give spoilers away but the one good part of that event was he's like, you should have this beer that's infused with whiskey. I'm like, I think you're already drunk because they don't put whiskey in beer. And he's like, in Belgium, they do. And side note, he was also drunk, but that's okay. Anyways, but he's like, you should drink. I'm like, I don't drink during the game. And he's like, drink. Okay, I'm skipping ahead. Anyways, afterwards, I was like, well, I got to see what this is about. Life-changing. Oh my God. They put the whiskey in the beer and it's like so strong. There's a bunch of beers like 11%. Amazing flavor. Yeah, I had 2 or 3 beers while I was there.
It's interesting when a lot of Australians or even Europeans come to America. Our alcohol beverage content is just the same, if not higher. So a lot of people are like, "Oh, I can knock back this many," and then they come to America and they get way too lit, and then they would have to deal with security, which is what I used to do as a job. So. If you want to hear about more of those crazy stories, you can check out our Patreon's redacted podcast. But
that's fun.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Side note, by the way, the whole reason I drove to Bruges, which is completely across the country, we had a rental car, and it was me and Kellen after the rest of the team left. We're like, we should go somewhere. And we were trying to find the places close by. Mm-hmm. And I was like, we're in Belgium once. Let's drive all the way across, like the furthest point in the other country, and let's go to Bruges because of the movie In Bruges. Because I saw that movie and I was like, I want to go to Bruges. But But Callum's like 10 years old. So I was like, you've seen the movie in Bruges, right? He's like, I just watched Snow White. That's all I've seen. I was like, all right, you're lame.
The new live action one too.
When you say driving all the way across the country, though, in Belgium, that's like 50 miles in your terminology.
Yeah.
Is it really? That's it?
In America, that's like a day trip to like your first job that you work. Dakotah drives further for work.
I do. Yeah. I drive like 100 miles.
Yeah, it was nothing. And beautiful drive, by the way. And that's where we stopped in some of the small towns and stuff. It was super cool. Best choice. Go a little bit further. But like people in Belgium, they're like, if we can't walk there in 30 minutes, we just don't go. Like they just in Europe, no one travels like, oh, you're going to go for a couple hours, or like that's a vacation. You don't go there. But super fun. Bruges was great.
When I got to customs to when I was arriving in Belgium, I said I went up with my passport, because you give your passport, they stamp it, and they give you a little bit of interrogation about why you're there, etc. And I said, I'm Australian passport. I'm a tourist. I'm here for 9 days. Is like the customs officer was like, why did you come from Australia? Like 24 hours of travel for 9 days. And I was kind of regretting that decision, because I stay there for that amount of time, because 24-hour flight back and forth for a 9-day period is not good.
I think it sounds reasonable. I've made worse choices. I'll be honest. But it's funny, by the way, when I went through customs, they asked me what I was there for. I'm like, I'm here for this really cool, not nerdy at all convention. And it's an international team tournament. He's like, are you playing against Belgium? I was like, fortunately for my event, no. He's like, then proceed. Like, he's like
then proceed.
Yeah. He's like, if you were playing Belgium, like we'd have a problem. I was like, all right, got some pride. So
he's no lie forever.
Yeah, exactly. If there was a Belgian team I could see on his face, I'd have to lie and be like, no, not Belgium. No. Like, never them. I could tell it would not have been okay. He would have like immediately like lost my bag or something. But anyway.
So moving on to the kill team aspect of the WTC, which is the World Team Championship, right?
I have no idea. I've just been calling it WTC. You could tell me it stood for, I was going to make some inappropriate thing that might,
it's 12 minutes. You can make inappropriate jokes now.
Oh, I can?
It's 12 minutes.
Don't give me the green light. I'll burn this to the ground. I will burn this right to the ground. All right. So go ahead. Yeah, I guess I don't know what it stands for.
So you, it's right here. I can do this. The world.
Chuck, you can edit this out, right? Is that dead space? It's crazy.
No, we're gonna keep that in.
Dakotah, get on your game, man.
I know. So it's pretty cool. I do know that now the All Valley Team Tournament has to get more than 70 people in order to retain the title of biggest kill team tournament. So I'm going to do the best to make that happen. Or hopefully everyone in the United States does.
Yes, and that is in September. So, the link will be in the description if you're looking to sign up for that.
But what's fascinating about the World Team Championship is how many golden ticket winners were at this event from everywhere. They had a lot of top competitors from every region, and quite a lot of just good players in every region. And the placings we'll get to in a little bit. But Sam, firstly, I want to hear who you guys played first. So what was your guys' first real international competition as a team? And then I want to know who was the most difficult team for you guys to compete against.
Yeah, so the answer to both of those questions is Team UK Saint. So we played them first and last, and they were the best team that we played. They were very, very good. I think so. We finished sixth, and they finished fifth. So if you have a look through their team lists there, like Bart, Dan, Guy, Ryan, Zirkin, they're basically five of the, if not the top five players in the UK, pretty close to the top five, and they were an excellent team. We played them twice. They beat us pretty comfortably both times, and as much as it it kind of grinds me to say it, I think they were just a better team. So shout out to the great guys as well. We had a really good.
Was it because of the player skill, or was it because of the factions? Because team tournaments work a little differently. You have to have the grasp on the pairing process, right? In order to do well, but also sometimes some teams and some people just have a better read on the meta, and they can kind of skew things in their favor a little bit more. So was it the teams or was it the players?
Yeah, I think so. We lost 2 games. We lost against 2 teams. One was against Team Poland. One was against UK Saint. I think against Poland, they were very good, but I think we had very unfavourable matchups into them. And I think that was a contributing factor. I didn't necessarily feel dramatically outclassed, but they were really good. They beat Spain. They were the only team to beat a Spanish team apart from other Spanish teams. So who knows? But the UK, sorry to myself and the rest of the Australian team, I think they were just 5 better players than we were.
Sometimes that does happen.
It does happen.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
the best thing is that you guys can level up. You guys can see it because you're coming to Worlds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of them there again.
For sure. And we've got, we definitely, and I can dive into this as well. I think we had some good picks in terms of how we did our team comp. We had some weaker ones as well in terms of how we structured it. So some wins and some losses there. But I don't think that at the end of the day really would have influenced any of our overall matches that much, except for maybe the one against Poland. Because we won all our games, except for 1 draw.
So you guys had Hearthkin, Warp Coven, Corsairs, Wormblade, and Blooded.
Yeah.
What was your guys' thought process bringing those 5 teams?
Yeah, so the basic one was we wanted to have 2 teams that we would always pick the map for, and one for ITD and one for Open. For ITD, that was Corsairs. So I think Corsairs are pretty bad on Open, but they're really good on ITD. And if you get a really good player playing them at a really high level on ITD, they can actually be pretty terrifying. And I think because they're so bad on Open comparatively to other top teams, you don't see a lot of really good players playing Corsairs. So when you do get a good player playing Corsairs on ITD, it can cause a lot of surprises, like doing all sorts of shenanigans, like GA2ing 2 people, giving 1-3 APL, using one to open a door, go through the door, shoot, dash back through the door, and then have the other one dash through the door, shoot, dash back through the same door and close it with 5 fingers. Like, you can just pull off some absolutely ridiculous shenanigans. So we had Emma playing Corsairs, and we got her on ITD in pretty much every game, which was great. She did really well. Then we had Liam on Wormblade, and the idea for him is probably similar to you, Jimmy. The idea was we wanted to keep Wormblade on Open on every matchup, which we did as well.
Oh,
so
no.
Basically,
I got drunk and lost a bet, so that's
So they were our 2, let's call them our specialist picks, Wormblade being great on Open and Corsairs being great on ITD. And then the idea for the rest of the 3 were they were going to be our flex picks, and they were supposed to be teams. Or Brian wanted to play Warp Coven, so cool. What Coven it is. They're just also an interesting, just lots of people haven't played against a good player playing Warp Coven, and they're a little bit weird, so you can pull off some, you might get an element of surprise there. And then Alexa and I were going to be our other 2 kind of flex picks, with the idea being that we would just kind of play everybody else, I guess. And also the idea being we'd play 2 relatively well-rounded teams. Now, we think these 2 were a bit of a mistake. The obvious one that I definitely should have done was play Brood Brothers. Now, retrospectively, my thinking was very flawed making the decision not to, and I'm happy to own that. So the idea behind it essentially was that with the team pairing function, one of Brood Brothers' greatest strengths is their versatility, and the versatility is a little bit less important when you've got some control over the mission type and the opponents that you're playing into, etc. I think I had a bit going on in my personal life. I hadn't painted them. I was like, I don't really want to go ahead and build and paint and practice with a whole other team. And I'm the shooty horde player, so that was kind of my responsibility to play Brood Brothers. And I think as soon as I got into my second game against Commandos and ITD, I was like, I wish I had I shouldn't have brought these guys. Because Blooded are very situationally good, and in the role that I played in the team, I needed a team which was more versatile, which obviously Brood Brothers are. So my whole thinking about, the versatility thing was, I think, right in principle. I just picked the wrong team for it. Alexa picked Hearthkin, who are good, and Alexa's a brilliant player. And he kind of, same thing here, he probably should have taken Scouts because they're more versatile. But if you look at his record over the performance, he basically tanked Brood Brothers in every game he played against them. And when he started, he like got wiped by Dan Barton from the UK, and then he just won every game after that. So he kind of leveled up how to play that matchup as the tournament progressed, and then to like top it off, beat Dan in a rematch in the final game of the tournament, which was nice. But again, I don't think Alexa and myself taking Brood Brothers and Scouts.
So he played Dan 3 times because he lost in the singles, then he lost again, and then he played him at the end.
Yeah, that's right. He lost by 1 point in the singles. I think that was on ITD, and that was apparently very close. Could have gone either way, and he got absolutely demolished in our first round, which was an open. I think Dan put the icon board in the middle of something and controlled all the points, and then he got his revenge in the last game where he kind of worked out how to play the matchup on open.
Nice. Yeah. One thing that we're big Hearthkin haters on this channel. If people don't know.
Not me, but just Dakotah. Just Dakotah.
It's just Dakotah.
The biggest thing about that team, the other thing that it kind of proved a theory of mine, Hearthkin are really bad if you don't have a lot of practice. And it was really interesting to watch Alexa's progression where he started off really poorly. At one point, he lost 5 games in a row. And then it seemed like something clicked finally, and they started doing really, really well. And it's like a team that you have to have tons and tons of practice on because there's such a different play style. And then to see him level up to that level and actually start to perform was really fun to watch from across the world, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he and I had done lots of practice, but that was just like Blooded into Hearthkin, which is an awful matchup for Blooded. So he was used to just wiping the floor with me. But yeah, I think it's a testament to how good a player he is that he can adapt to a matchup after a couple of games in the middle of an international tournament and then just smash it after
and not let it get to him.
Not let it get to him and then work it out and then beat everyone. And I think he won all 3 games on day 2, and he played at least 2 of them against Brood Brothers.
Nice.
So I think if we'd taken those different teams, I don't think it really would have impacted much of where we ended up finishing. There's probably another thing as well this is something that we hadn't appreciated in the team. Do you want me to just go over how the point differential scoring works for the listeners so they get a bit of context?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
cool. So this is quite important to how you're strategizing for the event. So basically, a normal game you might win 23 points to 15, just as an example. In the team structure, basically you score a number of points for you and your opponent score a number of points based on the points differential within your game. So there's 20 points available for each match, and they're cumulatively added to your team's performance. So there's ultimately 100 points in total that's split between 2 teams at the conclusion of the round. And I think if one team scores more than 56 points, I believe, they get the win. And if it's between 56 and 44, then it's a draw. So the way that works in practice is if you have a draw, so let's say it's 15-15, you both get 10 points. So you contribute 10 points to your team's tally. So if everyone has a draw, it's 50-50. If you win by 1 point, then you get 11 points and your opponent gets 9. You win by 2 points, you get 12 points and your opponent gets 8. You win by 10 points, you get 20 and your opponent gets 0. So what that actually means is that winning by a small margin or losing by a small margin isn't really that bad, while losing by a small margin is catastrophic and basically can lose your team the game. So it's much. So I had 2 or 3 games probably 2 games where I was a few points behind and I thought that I was in snatching victory of maybe getting the game back. But the consequence of doing something risky, like let's say we're in a singles tournament and you're a few points behind, you're going to try and do a big play in TP4 to get yourself back into that. The problem about doing that in a team tournament like this with this scoring structure is you're basically risking either a 1 or 2 point win or maybe a 10 point loss. Let's just use those as the extreme examples. It's actually better for your team to just take that small loss than risk that huge. Take that small loss than risk the huge loss, because the huge loss is way more negative than the small win is beneficial. So there's a kind of component there's almost a game within the game where you realize this game isn't going my way. I can either try and pull it back and I risk losing the whole round for my team, or I can just shut it down and lose by 2 or 3 points. With that, it wasn't something we appreciated either, and that definitely favors particular teams as well. So I think if you're a team with really good, let's say I'm going to use Harlequins as an example as the team that kind of suck, but they're fantastic at scoring point score when they lose. Like you can table a Clowns player and they'll still get 6 secondaries and they'll get a reasonable number of primaries. So I wouldn't say take Clowns to an event like this, but being able to still achieve a high score when you're going to lose, or being able to shut the game down so you don't lose by that much, that's actually something that you need to make a tactical decision during the game to do. And Blooded are not very good at that. So Blooded, you just want to like go for the jugular. You want to score all your points. You want to max out your secondaries. Well, I think a team like Brood Brothers, we can flip to playing a bit more of a conservative play style, and you can shut down those games a bit more effectively to just lose by 2 or 3 rather than win by 1 or lose by 10. I think is another consideration that we'd need to make for next year. But yeah, so probably a summary is that the point scoring influences your in-game behavior more than I think we would have appreciated beforehand as well.
So it's interesting. Me and Jimmy had tons and tons of conversations because me and Giacomo and a lot of other SoCal people really tried to help the Team USA really prep for this. We had a whole tournament, and we'll let Jimmy talk about that in a second. It's interesting is that I'm not the biggest fan of differentials in this edition, right? We just got an announcement that the next edition is coming, so we'll see how I feel in the next one. Typically, I think we had this conversation on our Discord where I feel like differential scoring, which we decided to stay away from at the All Valley, can be toxic towards newer players. Right. And it can be, like stopping people from scoring can do feels beds. Right. And you can do that in this edition, not in the next edition, because you got to kill a bunch of people. But for an event like this, with all the best players and top players in the world, I think it's the perfect metric and a really good way for a team tournament to do it. And I'm not saying it's a bad metric, right? I think it's not for every event, but this one, I think it's absolutely perfect for. It's going to be interesting also if they change the scoring metric for next time for the differential, because they're probably going to learn a lot from how the differential scored. Maybe they might change the numbers next year. Well, they probably have to because of the new edition. Jimmy, you want to tell us a little bit about your guys' strategy and the players on your team and why you guys chose these particular teams? Because I see you guys chose a compendium team. I know these things, but I want you to tell us.
Absolutely. So yeah, easy ones out of the way. Brood Brothers, Scouts, and Mandrakes are 3 top teams. They seem pretty easy to go with. We had to balance out how much we'd try to do board dependent or mission dependent. So we did a lot of pairing strategies, try to figure that kind of stuff out. With me, I took Wormblade. We thought they would be good on loot. They're actually really good on secure and capture too. I kind of picked them without having any experience with them. And then they're good on open. They can do good on Into the Dark, and I like Into the Dark. So I figured, all right, let's try that team. Seems versatile. I also hate sticking with the team too long. I really wanted to bring Nemesis Claw, and everyone kind of was like, Jimmy, they're terrible.
Not me.
Yeah, they're like, they're terrible. You're terrible. You're a bad person for wanting that. And I was like, guys, they're fun. Like, they're the most fun team I've played. I was like, I've only brought them to one tournament, and I was like, I want to dust them off and bring them out. And I think it'll be fun.
Disgusting.
And they're like, this is not for fun. You need to love America and crush foreigners, especially Australia. No offense, Sam. Anyways, they're like, you got to pick a good team. And then it's funny because first round I played Spain, and the guy, I had some amazing games. Spain's wonderful, love them. The guy Kikums, it was Kikums I played him. Anyways, yeah, Kikums. Anyway, so he was like, hey, just think if you had brought a good team. I was like, wait a minute, are they not a good team? He's like, they're trash. They're garbage. They're
trash.
he was like very offended. He's like, these are disgusting. Anyways, that was fun. So he's like, I was like, yeah, just think if I'd brought a good team. That would have been fun. A good team like Nemesis. And I said, a good team like Nemesis Skull? He's like, no. I was like, no. Not Nemesis Claw. They think they're D tier. But anyways, I got stuck with that team. It kind of made sense, but I think before you actually play in a format, you don't really know. I'm sure Sam would agree. Once you actually go and play through it, then you're like, I get what it's like now. Like I could come back into this way better now that we've come here and we've done the pairings and gone through it. It's like you just don't know what you're walking into. You don't even understand. And then you get to see some teams played on a level that you've never seen before. You're like, oh wow, that team they do things. I thought they just died. They're like, yeah, because bad players took them in your country. Like, like, okay, except Farstalker Kimban, they're bad in every country. That's a fact. I took a poll. I was like, does anyone like them? They're like, everyone agreed. Like, no, that is the bad team. Like, fantastic. Good. We know. We agree. And then we brought Chaos Demons. Stan brought Chaos Demons. I love the idea of Chaos Demons. They had also talked me off a ledge. I was going to bring Talons. Because, that'd be fun to bring back.
Well, you did win an 87-person tournament with Talons.
I did.
In Into the Dark.
But yeah, you couldn't bring two teams that both like really want Into the Dark. It's tough. So anyways, I backed off. I don't think they're in the same spot they were before. Demons are great though. Like Demons podium at 2 big events in the US just recently. Like they don't have a lot of tricks. There's nothing fancy. They're just demons. They just stand out there and they're hard to kill. They're hard to move. And there's so many of them. Sam initially did not want to play them. He was used to Felgor before. And he was like, but this is great, guys. I don't know if you know this about Felgor. They all get like 2 lives. It's so cool. And we're like, stop, depending on the 2 lives. This is like, anyways, we switched him over. We got him into Demons and he came in kicking and screaming. And then he got some games in and then he beat like Brood Brothers. And he was like, oh my gosh, they can beat Brood Brothers. And like, they have like sneaky good games into some of these really top teams because they're great at melee and they just rush in and they just like chop everyone up. It's pretty cool. Yeah, so I stand by the pick. I thought it was good, and then no one saw it coming. Like no one saw a compendium team, and that's fun. Like it's fun.
Right.
Like it's fun to go there to try to win. But if you've ever seen me at a tournament, I don't take it that seriously. So I'm kind of just screwing around quite a bit. So I would always rather have fun. Which, speaking of, before we move on to the topics, last game of our event, we were played in Germany. And at that point, we were going to be 7th or 8th because we played every single Spanish team, it was rigged. It was rigged. I see you, WTC. I know you rigged our lineups. Coming for you. Anyways, we played all the Spanish teams. Anyway, so we were playing Germany for 7th or 8th spot. And I was like, guys, normally I wait to drink until after. Not today. Not now. We're drinking during. We're it's going down. So I started drinking early, and then I walked Chris Bakke. He handles the pairing. He's the captain, and I was like, Chris, step aside. I got this. So I got it. I was like, all right, Germany, I got a special offer for you. Here's what we're gonna do. Your teams have cards representing the different factions. And you have this whole pairing process where one person puts down 1 card and the other guys put down 2 cards and you pick. I was like, screw all that. We're done with it. All right. I take my deck. I shuffle them face down. I deal them out like to 5 tables. You take your cards, you shuffle them, deal, and we just see what happens. What table do we end up on? Who's our opponent? Chaos. Let's go. And they're like, we must discuss. So they went. I don't do accents. All right. Just don't judge me. So the Germans, they go around and they have like a powwow, and like they were really like considering it. I was like, oh god, like I was probably just start pulling like fake euros out. It's fake money. Anyways, I was gonna pull it out and just start throwing it down, be like, let's do this shit. I'll buy you all beers. They all like German beers. They look down on they're weird. So I was so close, and they came back. They're like, as Germans, we are very efficient people, and this would not be. I was like, this is more efficient. This is more efficient. Let's just steal it down. Let's go. And he was like, we do it normal. Like, okay, you losers. Anyways, so they lost. But yeah, no, great guys though. It was a lot of fun. But like this next year, I want at least 1 game. And I've told my team this, and they almost preemptively uninvited me for next year because they're like, we're worried Jimmy might do this. I was like, no, we're gonna take the cards, shuffle them up, deal them down. Okay, look. Sam, be honest. If we had paired up Australia and US for the last round and we're going for like 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that, you would have done it, right? Shuffle those guys.
Yeah, 100%. We went into a very prestigious game to make all the difference between 5th and 6th, and I was already like 2 years in before we even sat down. I was like, this round, like if we're going for 3rd or 4th,
if it's a podium,
but 5th or 6th, Yeah, exactly. The 5th or 6th, it's like we were happy with how we did.
Thank you. No, if a podium...
Yeah. Unequivocally, we
okay, absolutely. Yeah, if the podium's in the line, you're going to play sober Jimmy, and like I'm going to not take my pants off, and all the normal, typical things. But dude, 7th, 8th place Jimmy, that guy's on a government watch list. Let me just tell you, like that guy's not a person.
That guy needs to get drunk.
So yeah. Anyways, no one went for it. I was so bummed. So anyone, if you're watching this, you're a part of WTC, be ready because next year I'm bringing chaos. Like and I was also saying, like, if they didn't do that, then I tried to talk to Chris, like, Chris, here's what we do. They offer a defender, we shuffle up, throw 2 random cards out. Who are we offering as an attacker? I don't know. Let the Chaos Gods decide. Let it go. And then he couldn't do that. So I'm like, I just can't get anyone to be cool. Like, I tried my best. I'm like, guys, we can be cool. We can do cool shit. And they're like, this is a nerd game for nerds. We will not be cool. I'm like, all right, fine. You guys win.
Dang.
Yeah, I tried my best, Sam. I hope next year our teams do play because maybe not for like a podium or something because then like we'll both get overruled. Like I think you and I would both be like, let's go anyways. Like,
yeah, I think I might struggle with that one. How good is Spain though? Like 3 teams finishing in the top 4. Just absolutely. I wish I think we would have got rolled by Spain 1, but I was hoping to play Spain 2 or 3.
It's almost like they designed the map.
I was going to say. And you can't get mad at Spain. They cheated.
But hey,
Yeah, I don't know if you know this. This is okay.
It's almost like they practiced for a year on terrain that wasn't released. I mean,
so I don't want to drop anything too controversial here, but I did talk to them. They did all cheat. They just played like 100 games, like in the last month. That's cheating. That's not fair. Like they just played so many games, and they all knew their stuff really, really well, and they were like really, really good. That's not fair. I don't know. Like doesn't seem fair.
America was 2 beers deep. They were 100 games.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what was going on
over there. Drinking, taking his pants off, and we're just we're playing this game for the 80th time this week. So, but guess what? Who had more fun? Okay, they probably did because they won. But also, who had the second most fun? This guy. I had the second most fun. Yeah,
heck yeah.
Gold medal and being ridiculous in other countries. That's what I go for. But
So since we brought up the C word, there was a rather large somebody who cheated really drastically at the tournament, got disqualified day 1 at the tournament, found out he cheated in his previous games at the tournament, then was allowed back by the TOs on day 2, which I'll get into. I'm allowed to criticize them because I'm a TO, and that's not how I would do things. If I disqualified somebody for cheating, they're done. Yeah. No ifs, ands, or buts. I don't care. To me, it speaks to the mistakes that I made year 1 of my TOing, right? Like this thing happened before in my watch on year 1, and I let people come back, right? I don't do that anymore because I'm more experienced and I want to make sure people have fun. But also, it was told to me, I don't have any proof of this, but that person went on to Discord after the event and blamed his cheating on being drunk. And unfortunately, in America, it might be different in Poland. It might be different in other countries. That's one thing that we have to remember is culturally,
let me tell
things
you,
are different.
It is different
but
over
in
there.
America,
each country is its own flavor.
In America, when you drink, you don't blame things on alcohol because it's still your actions, right?
Right.
Now, that might be a cultural difference between us and that country or us and other countries. So going into this, know that you're going to have your cultural differences with America, or if you're from somewhere else, or in America, know that these other countries might think differently. So try to remember that. Like, we're coming at it from an American perspective. We can ask Sam about his thoughts on it, but we'll get into that now. Now, Jimmy, this was your game 3.
I feel like something involving me ends up being the big talk of a lot of events. There's always something like I take my pants off a lot, so it happens. I should probably stop doing that, but I won't. You got to deal with it. So this is your problem, not mine.
That's true.
It's not in the rule. I read the rule book. Nowhere does it say no pants, no service. So this is your fault. Dakotah, don't add that into the rule pack, please. Okay. And
that's fair.
I told Dakotah ahead of time. I was like, look, because he told me that you want to talk about this. I was like, just so you know, I thought the TOs were amazing, did a great job. Like, I'm going to be their advocate. Like, I'm not going to be saying anything negative about the TOs. I was super impressed with the event. How they, like, the way they handled my game was amazing to me. So, you're allowed your thoughts and criticisms, but I have a lot of love for the TOs and how they ran it. So, you're not going to hear any criticism about that from me.
That's fair. That's fair. So we're going to wrap this in 20 because Sai is going to need the room. So we're going to speed through this. Jimmy.
I'll try.
Jimmy, what happened? Give us the run by run. And Sam, you played this person right afterwards, and the TOs were breathing down his neck. So I want to hear that as well.
I'll try to go
Jimmy,
fast. So it started right away from parents. The guy was just making a lot of crude, weird, offensive jokes as we were pairing up. And then I got paired into him. He's playing Jaegers. And a little known fact, I've never played against Jaegers. And I was thinking about practicing for the event. I looked down, there's one Jaeger team. I'm like, what are the odds I play the one Jaeger team? I don't need to learn this team. Like, I'm not going to take mental load to learn a team. If there's one of them, I was like, if we get that team, I'll just not pay. I paired into him. So yeah, I was like immediately kicking myself. We go for the board. Adrian Bonvento pulls me aside and he's like, hey, Jimmy, this guy is like, you got to keep an eye on him. He's going to try to get in your head. I can already tell, like, this guy's really aggressive. He's going to try to pull some stuff. Like, the moment you see something called a TO, don't stand for it. And that was really cool. So I was like, thanks for getting, and like, while he's talking to me, the player comes up and he's like, yeah. Like he was like excited we were talking about him. It was weird. He was like eagerly aggressive for conflict. And I actually hate conflict. I hate confrontation a lot. And yeah, so if you want to win a game against me, just get really confrontational and start throwing stuff at me or something. I fold under pressure so fast. I'll just be like, you win, and I'll leave and cry. It's with my pants off. So we start playing the game, and I tell him right away. I was like, hey, I've never played this team, and I don't know the rules because I'm bad at this game. So he was like, I'll tell you the rules. And he did a quick rundown, and I can learn quickly. So he's telling me the things. I'm remembering what he's telling me. Tells me the ploys. He left out two. Okay, I'm not getting into the details. So we go through, we do the deployment, we go to the strategic phase, and he tells me about one of the new ploys. So I'm like, all right, give me the card. As I took out, like, I read all the cards and found the ones he didn't tell me about. I'm like, yeah, great.
Right.
So we're like 4 activations in, and he's like, oh, I forgot to put down my mind tokens for like my mind guy. So he just starts putting them down on the board after, like, it's like way late. And I'm not confrontational, so I was like, you got it. Put them down. Let's go. I have already had to completely change my entire game plan because I didn't know they had super conceal. So like all my thoughts of what I could do, like, literally just went away. So like, I'm like reformulating this new plan. And the way that immediately the game started playing out weird. Models were moved after they were moved. There was like, we started looking.
Tell us about that one.
That one comes in turn 2.
When...
But there's one of the things I dropped a guy from hiding to get a shot on a guy that clearly had a sight. And he was like, oh no, he was supposed to be here. So we went through and we like remeasured it. I'm like, he couldn't have been there. Like, he literally didn't have the movement for it. So we like got this contentious fight, and he's like, fine, take the shot. I shoot him, and then he's like, my marksman is going to shoot him, or my gunner or whatever is going to shoot him back. He was already engaged. And he was like in the window. I was like, wait, you had an engaged guy in the window that could see out? And he was like, yeah, he's always been there. I'm like, I feel like I would have taken that shot. Like, if you had an engaged guy with visibility, that's kind of weird. But he's like, yeah, he's there. So he takes the shot and kills the guy. And then we're going through the activation count, and there's he has too many activations left. I'm like turning the math, and I'm like, wait a minute, you passed with that gunner. Like, you'd already like activated him and passed. He's like, oh yeah. Whoops. I was like, so you activated an activated model and then shot with him? He's like, I forgot. Which is like, I don't know. That's a weird one. Anyway, so we put the model back on the board. I'm like, okay. Like, I know, like, this is weird. He's already like forgotten key things. And while he's moving out, there's 2 guys that are like almost right next to each other. They're up behind a barricade. One of the guys is a little bit back behind the barricade. And I'm like looking to see if I can get he's not touching. And there's a little cover line. And I was trying to see, like, loosely see if I can get a cover line past that barricade. And these guys were right next to each other. So we do the initiative roll. and I'm looking over to like go through strategic, and I'm looking over for my first shot because I have a guy with a blasting charge, 1-inch blast, that is in reach of those guys. And I'm like, I'm planning it out, right? Like I'm eager. Like I'm going to do coiled serpent. I'm going to hit these two guys, hit them both. So excited. I look down, they're like 1.5 inches apart. And I was like, this is like, these were moved. Like this is like, these were absolutely different spot. So I started talking to, I said like, dude, these are not the same place. He's like, I didn't move them. And so I called over TO. I was like, I told him like, we've had these problems. And then it was Lazarus. And he's like, look, I'm going to be here. I'm going to watch the whole game like a hawk. Let's do it. So the rest of the game, we had to literally check every movement, every dice roll. He tried to activate models that are already activated again. You get resource points with Jaegers where you activate, you can make them 3 APL. He got 3, the first 3 activations. He added an APL, and then he tried to do the 4th activation, and we said no. And he's like, no, it's only my 3rd activation. And we had to explain each and every model he activated. Whole explanation, and he finally conceded. 5th activation, tried to do it again. 6th activation, tried to do it again. Like every activation, and he kept saying like, oh no, like, and he kept trying to say like I was activating too many models. He's like, I've only activated 2 models. Like this. Like, you come on, like it was every play. Every time he went to go to a fight, he got his equipment wrong. He was rolling 2, like it was always in his favor. He rolled an attack dice. He's like, oh, it's like lethal 5-up and rending. And we're like, oh man, that's crazy. And then we checked, it's like, it doesn't have either lethal 5-up or rending. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you didn't just like, anyways. So we're constantly checking the rules. Everything was wrong. Every single time, every single fight, every single action, every measurement. Like, you'd go take this charge. It, like, you could tell it was like a hat across the board. A Harlequin would have been impressed to make the charge. And he's like, my injured Jaeger is going to just charge in there. We're like, what are you talking about? Like, sometimes you don't need to measure. You just look at it and be like, dude, that's 4 miles away. He's going to run a marathon before he gets there. Like, he can't get there before the game's over. What are you doing? So, like, every time he did an action, he would try to grab the model, and then the TOs would, like, step in, do the measurement. He's getting really upset. So one time he went to make one move that was, like, really close and obvious. So he's like, I'm going to move here. And then the judges didn't measure. They're like, go ahead. And he's like, oh, you sure you don't want to measure it? And I was like, whoa, you're going after the TO now. That's crazy. So it was just very verbally aggressive, very condescending. Early on, he was playing like, there was the jokes and the insults were kind of crazy. So I just asked him, like, I was directed, like, hey, be honest with me. Is this your version of fun and friendly, or are you trying to mess with my head? And he's like, 90%, it's all fun. I was like, oh, dude. So, like, you're admitting you're 10% just being a dick to mess with me. Which, of course, I think it was 90% the other way. So I told him, like, dude, can we just make it 100% fun? Like, let's just make it good. And he just blew me a kiss and winked at me. So I'm like, well, all right, that's that's my answer. So it was a really intense match, but I was handedly beating him as it was, which is I kind of think why it was getting so extreme. So the game after one specific roll, after it happened over and warning and over again, he rolled too many dice for an equipment piece he didn't have. And so Lazarus just called it. He's like, that's it. That's game. It's going to be a max score for Jimmy. And then he turned to me. He's like, oh, Jimmy, that's how you want to win? And I was going to respond because, like, it wasn't my call. Like, this wasn't the thing I did. And Lazarus kind of pulled me aside. He's like, dude, just walk outside. Don't talk to him. Don't engage with him. He's like, don't give him anything to, like, put back on you. He's like, we'll handle this. So they did such a good job of, like, watching the game and being in charge. When someone gets really aggressive and you can't trust the movements, the rules, like, you can't, like, you get to the place you can't even trust what models they've activated. It was really great to have the TO literally watching every aspect of that game. It was just really extreme. But anyways, when people act like that, I feel like it says more about them than it does about anything else. So there's a lot of people that were worried about me or felt like, oh man, I'm sorry to deal with that. It's like, I was just playing a game. I was winning the game, and the TOs helped it from becoming a bigger thing than it was. So as long as, if there wasn't a TO there and I was trying to work this out on my own, I have no idea what would have happened. It would have been crazy. But because of the TOs, it actually ended up, I just played my game until he completely collapsed. I was like, all right, that was it. You like, that was the best you could do. So, yeah,
wild.
it was pretty crazy.
Wild. Yeah, that's one of the worst cheating stories I've actually heard, and I've actually banned people for cheating before as well. So that's saying something. Sam, you ended up playing this guy the very next day, very first round in the morning. I'm assuming he came in sober. How did that go, and what happened?
Yeah, I mean, I can only talk to my experience, and it was fine. It was fine. And I can speculate over however I like, but my experience of playing the same player, obviously after it had a yellow card and all that kind of stuff. So it's not like
did he blow you a kiss?
No, it was civil. It was a completely different experience to what Jimmy had. So I think we had a judge there the whole time, who was watching very intently. I was, particularly at the start of the game, I was very, very diligent about. I was probably a bit annoying, but I think that was very warranted. I was looking up every single rule and measuring every inch, etc. And yeah, it was fine. Like I similarly to Jimmy, I hadn't prepared for Jaegers, and I played into Hearthkin a bit with Blooded, and we realized I was like, okay, I don't want to play Jaegers. I hate playing dwarves. I can't kill them with Blooded, and they can kill me easily. So it was one that. So when I was speaking about the matchup we had with Poland earlier, I was like, this is one of the matchups we really didn't want to get. We didn't want to have Blooded into Jaegers, so therefore I hadn't prepared for it, and therefore it made it even worse. So I ended up losing. But that was more down to the I don't think there was anything in our game that was untoward. So yeah, I don't. Maybe the yellow card worked as it intended. I don't know. We had a normal game, had a good chat afterwards.
Well, I think
if I can remove the circumstance from what Jimmy had and just look at it in isolation of mine, that was just a normal tournament game with an opponent I had a good chat to afterwards.
Yeah.
So I
think his team kind of talked to him too. Matus, the captain, came up to me multiple times, apologizing for him. I could tell it was genuinely bothered and affected, which meant a lot. Because Matus didn't, that wasn't his behavior and his choices, but he clearly cared about reaching out to me and making sure I was cool. The other Polish players were really cool about there's other Polish. I think they had people come just to watch the games. There's either that or they had I don't know. There was multiple Polish people that came up and very friendly. So I think there's a lot of people that kind of went to him and kind of helped when they realized how bad it got. I think that probably was a lot. The TOs being on top of it. And then his team, kind of going to him, probably reining him in, probably helped a lot. Which says a lot of good about the player, because they brought him, but they also cared enough to really make sure they, took care of it.
Yeah, Liam and Alexa are friends with Matush from Worlds last year, and they're a great bunch of guys. We spent a bit of time with them afterwards and stuff. So they've got a good team spirit. So I imagine there was. Something happens there internally within their team. I also had one of the judges come and talk to me after the game and just say, was everything okay, etc. I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's kind of interesting because I'm very anti-cheating, but I could only reflect on what my experience of the game was.
Of course. Well, I mean, for your experience, but you could also commentate on what happened. So for instance, as a TO, when I watch that kind of stuff, right? Typically, if a TO shows up, somebody stops cheating, right? That's the typical thing. The fact that this person continued to cheat was very surprising when a TO is standing next to them. But also the fact that he could play the entire day of day 2 cleanly without making any rules mistakes, without anything like that, that shows intent. Yeah. 100%
so the funny
shows
thing
intent.
is,
you can't say
the stopping or not stopping a TO shows up to me actually gives more weight to the fact he probably he didn't seem that drunk when I played him, but I think that does give more credibility to the fact he was probably drunk. But that also probably means you just don't have the inhibitions. So if you're cheating when you're drunk, that's probably how you play, and the drinking just kind of doesn't give you the self-awareness to realize, oh, I'm under scrutiny. This person will probably realize that I just did an activation error, or I just, did my movements off, my stats are wrong, or you just kind of don't realize as much. So, anyways,
some people do it so often that they'll do it on stream too, right? When they'll forget that they're being recorded, right? Which has happened to 40K, AOS, Kill Team, right? It's happened to a lot of really good players, right? And then you're like, oh, that's why you're so good, right? So I think there's definitely like VODs that you can watch for every game system and see the same effect, right? And here's the thing. We all know, as a TO, we all know that rules mistakes happen, right? And you're not going to get punished for cheating, for doing something. It was really good for the TO to sit there, build a case, see that the person was doing this over and over and over to show. It's almost like you're an HR representative. You see somebody continually messing up at work and then you fire them, right? It's not like, hey, you did one thing wrong, you're out of here. You know, it's not like that. You know, we're not fascists or anything.
Right, you need a paper trail.
Speak for yourself, Dakotah. Yeah. Some of us are fascists. Continue. Sorry.
Dakotah, you're out of here.
I'm not saying who. But someone in the chat's a fascist. Just you figure it out. Giacomo.
There you go.
It's me.
Sorry.
So those are things that we all have to remember, is that, you know, each TO is going to deal with cheating differently. Each TO that has different experience is going to do that as well. Some TOs might not know the rules that well, and then they might not see cheating as often. Or some TOs may see it a lot and then overreact because they're starting to get jaded by it, right? So the thing is that we all have to come in. We have to remember that we're all humans and that everyone makes mistakes, right? And we also want to make sure, you know, because also the packet that they have could have said, I haven't read the WTC packet, so their packet could have said like just yellow cards and all that kind of stuff. Like Warhammer doesn't have a card system. They don't believe in that kind of stuff. They just give out penalties, penalty after penalty after penalty. And eventually you're just going to get so many penalties, you'll continue to lose. But necessarily cheating isn't against their rules, right? If you keep getting rules mistakes, they'll just keep giving you minus cards, right? I'm sure in extreme circumstances they can do something, but it's not directly in any of their packets, right? So knowing that, going to different tournaments and different TOs, that is relatively important for a player to understand. It's also important for a TO to understand and do realize that cheating does happen, right? It is a relatively common occurrence, whether intentionally or not. And the fact is, as a TO, you have to determine when is it intentional and when is it not, right?
No, it happens a lot. Like I'm going to cheat against you on our game with Phobos, just so you know. Yeah. I'm a lot.
Yeah.
There we go.
I'm looking forward to it. The only way you're going to win, Jimmy. It's the only way you're going to win.
Because you made me take a team I haven't played. So rude, Dakotah. Let me play what I want. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap up the episode here. I'm sorry to cut.
I want to add one thing real quick, by the way, before we move on. So here's the thing. We talked about this cheating.
Okay.
So first of all, I mentioned the TOs that did a great job. I mentioned Lazarus, but there's also Francois did amazing. Layla was there. All of them did a really great job. It was really great to get to talk to them and know them. They reached out multiple times, checking on me and stuff. Great people, happy with that. I also want to talk about the games overall. That one experience, I didn't even view as a negative experience, but the other 6 games I had were some of the best games of Kill Team I'd ever had. And like I always think it was going to be super sweaty, top players, all desperate to win. I had so many amazing games. And I think one of my biggest sources of pride from the event, I had a couple guys telling me, like, I wish all my games were like my game with you. And it was so fun to be able to have this really intense top level competitive game with a great player and still have it be really friendly, like be able to hug afterwards, like get excited for each other as different roles go down, and to like watch my opponent be like excited for the game. Cause like, it's a game. Like we do this for fun. Like we want to be good, but like if you're not enjoying it, and I really didn't know if that would happen. I was not sure what we were going to get when we got out there. I thought it was going to be all people like, no fun allowed. Like, like the Germans with not letting me deal the cards, makes me so mad. I'll get you, Germany. Anyways, so I've already started enough wars. Stop, Jimmy. Stop. I've started enough wars. Okay. So anyways, but so much fun, such great guys. And it was one of the best experiences. Sam, did you have something like, was it the same for you or?
Absolutely. All 7 of my games were fantastic. My opponents were really good. It was, I think the team structure helps with that a little bit because you're not necessarily like knocking yourself out if you lose a game. Like everyone, Europeans are awesome. Like every time after a game, they buy you a beer. If you buy them a beer if you win, they buy you a beer if they win. Great guys. Everyone was really good. And like in Australia, we've got a big kill team community, but and a big kill team competitive community, but our number of I'd say top level players is pretty relatively small. So I got to play 7 really good players rather than just playing like Liam and Alexa and Emma every week. So that was, and they were everything Jimmy said, like great people, really good vibes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just great event. So much fun, and can't wait for next year.
And then also,
Good.
we have a ceasefire with the Australian-American War. So that was a plus.
Oh yeah. Jimmy's no longer going to insult Australia, the tiny little country. Oh no, I started again.
Here we go. I was considering invading. I was like, all right, let's go get those Aussies. Like, it's been a while since someone's whooped their ass in a war. And you know what? They're great guys. I don't know. They're Team Australia was really cool. It was actually great to be able to hang out and talk with Alaska. He's a really nice guy. I think one of the best things I saw was he did deal with like a couple rough losses, and to see how he handled it. Like, I don't know how he handled like right when the game ended, but he was like lighthearted and like having fun and joking with you and other people. And it was great because so many times on that top level, you take a loss and it really, like, I've seen so many top players, they can't emotionally deal with it. The moment they lose, it's like destroys their ego. They feel like they've let down, like, and he rebounded so well where he just had like such a positive, like, he just kind of like, and then he just got better from it and did, like, it was really, really cool to see. He's a really nice guy to talk to. So, a lot of fun.
Yeah, when I saw you guys talking, I was like, oh, maybe I should get a photo of them and post it on the Squad Games Discord as a little happy snap.
Yeah.
But,
And then you should have had one. You should have had one of Alexa choking Jimmy.
It's like,
now, here's the thing. I do not promise I won't get drunk and start a war again. So, I am going.
That's fair.
Hey, if you want to just go to Australia and go, I can offer you $2 beers instead of $10. I think they just join. Whatever you decide to invade.
At this point, after hearing this,
we are now a part of
they may just leave. They might just be like, "There are cheap beers there." Like, you might just lose the whole country, continent, whatever it is.
That's fair.
Well, 50
Yeah. So we're gonna wrap it here, everyone. Does anyone have anything that they want to shout out?
I'll shout out my teammates. So massive props to Liam, Alexa, Brian, and Emma. Thank you all. Thanks for the prep. Thanks for the great performance. Thanks to everyone that I met over there. So Jimmy and to Kellen and Team USA, great meeting you guys. The Dutch guys, the Polish guys, the English guys, all the Spaniards we didn't play who probably would have beaten us anyway, but I would have loved to have a crack at that. Who else? Actually, I wanted to, we haven't mentioned this, we don't have time now, but I want to do a massive shout out to the Italian Crute guy. So there's this Italian guy who played Crute and he did really well. And he was like this Crute phenom and he went like 5-2 or something like that.
Whoa!
Yeah, earlier I lied. Crute is sometimes good. So
yeah, Crute is good when Ernesto plays him, who's also this lovely, lovely dude. Yeah. So, worth getting him on the point as well at some point if you can, to like about how do you make Crute good, and he came 12th in the singles with him as well, which is wild. And then folks at home, shout out to Benz, who's one of our big community organisers here.
Legend.
Absolute legend. And then just the Castle Hill, Chatswood, and decked out communities and everyone in Kill Team Sydney. So thanks, folks.
Okay, I guess I got it. Okay. Also, my team, I can remember like 2 of them. There's Baki, my teammate Kellen, Sam, Adrian. Okay, yeah, we got them all. Adrian, yeah. It was so much fun hanging out with Team USA. It was a very good bonding experience. It was cool to see you, Sam, too. Like, it was fun to see people you talk to online or you know of and actually, meet thousands of miles from both of our home. Dude, the Spanish team was really great. Like, Kikim's was like one of my favorite matchups, but they were all great matchups. And I would also happily play that Polish player again. And I have no animosity. It was a weird experience, but like I have no negative feelings about that experience. And everyone was so great. Special notice to Team Netherlands, who gave a gift to all of us, special custom.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, only in Netherlands, right? Like, so like we show them like, hey, we got a gift for you, and they give us all special. They had their own team logo printed on condoms. They like give us all condoms, and they're like, yeah, it's because you're gonna get a little bit here. So, dude, the most baller move. I was like, where do you go to get custom condoms printed? They're like every street corner in Netherlands. Like they just that's what they do.
Every street corner.
Like, like, can I have special condoms? Like, what do you want on them? Like, anyways. Crazy guys. But really fun fun event. And we didn't get in trouble. We got to do an entrance with a lot of music. And my teammates were convinced they were going to, Europe was not going to stand for that shit. That's too American. They're like, they'll probably think a school shooting's coming next. The number of school shooting jokes, by the way, in Europe, they love American school shooting jokes. I had no idea. Like, I forgot that all our schools get shot up. You go over there and they'd be like, I'm going to shoot you up like an American school. I'm like, really? Like ouch.
That's a uniquely American experience that the rest of the world is like,
yeah. We get phone calls all the time. They're like, hey, school got shot up again. They're like, well, can they finish the day out? Like, I got things. Like, I'm very callous now. That sounds terrible. I'm gonna get canceled. That was it. That was too far. That was my last time.
That's why the U.S. didn't go to the Olympics. It wasn't at a school.
Yeah. But yeah, anyways, the other countries love American school shooting jokes. If you travel abroad, get used to it. Prepare yourself. But yeah, anyways, it felt great to be able to be bold and American and fun and make a lot of friends. Just really tremendous experiences. So
amazing.
Sounds great.
How about you, G?
Well, you know where you can find us. We're on the Squad Games Discord. You can join the conversation there. You know, if you were at WTC, you could say hi. Or if you just want to talk about Kill Team or the new edition that's coming out, you know, you can do that there. You can also find us on YouTube. We just did our battle report. You know, we're going to have a few more of those for you in time. But you can check that one out right now. Leave a comment, you know, tell us how we're doing. It's always appreciated. Check out the Hobby Highlander. That's another thing we have on there. And if you want, you can find me on Instagram at wargaming_studios. We got a new edition coming up, so we got some new models to paint. How about you, Dakotah? What do you got?
Yeah, check out Hobby Highlander. It's where we blindly test paint so that you don't have to. There should be a new one coming out this Friday. And we'll teach you guys how to play the next edition if you guys don't already know how. Well, if you're listening to this old, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me, you know? Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for making it this far into the podcast. Until next time.
See ya.
Bye.
The Squad Games Podcast is a production of Squad Games Entertainment. For more information on Squad Games, please visit our website at lestersworkshop.com/squad-games.